Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming along today. What a great turnout, and it's great to see so many people involved in the KTP programme. I'd just like to say thanks to the previous associates who have presented so far. It's definitely been very insightful. My name's James King, and I'm presenting on behalf of CSY Architects and Edinburgh Napier University on our topic, Building Information Modelling, a Bespoke Framework for SMEs and Smaller Projects. Now, before we get started, I'd just like to give you a brief overview of what we'll be covering today. I'll start with a short section about myself and specifically my experiences in BIM projects across Scotland, which made me an ideal candidate for this KTP programme. I'll provide an overview of our KTP programme specifically, followed by a short section on what BIM is, for those in the room that are unfamiliar. I'll discuss CSY Architects' strategic goals and why these have been relevant to our KTP in the adoption of BIM as a company. I'll share with you the challenges that we've faced, the achievements that we've made so far, our targets for the end of the KTP, and our future aspirations once the KTP has ended. And then finally, I'll end with the benefits of the KTP from Edinburgh Napier University's perspective, CSY Architects, and my own as the KTP Associate. So I graduated Edinburgh Napier University in 2020 with a degree in architectural technology. Now, I know what you're thinking, not the greatest time to enter the world of industry, but despite these challenges, I managed to gain valuable experience working in several Edinburgh-based practices. Now, BIM has always been a significant focus since my university days, and I've had the opportunity to work on multiple BIM Stage 2 projects across the country. And these projects have kind of ranged from new build residential projects to quite complex conservation work. And the most recent project I was involved in was the restoration of the iconic Jenner's department store in Edinburgh city centre. And this project encapsulated all aspects of conservation, new build and interior design, and provided me with the necessary experience to become a BIM coordinator and KTP associate. So I hope that's provided you with a quick introduction to my background and my experiences with building information modelling so far. So our KTP specifically then, CSY Architects are working collaboratively with Edinburgh Napier University and Innovate UK, and we've been working on the following: to develop and implement an innovative and bespoke framework and recommendations to enable more effective BIM implementation in an SME. Now, I think it's time to give you all a little bit of context and some background on BIM and why it's beneficial for the construction industry. So, building information modelling is a digital process used in the construction industry to plan, design and manage building projects more efficiently. The process involves creating a 3D model of a building that includes detailed information about things like structure, materials, systems and project timelines, and it allows architects, engineers, contractors, really anyone part of the design team to collaborate in real time, make better decisions and reduce mistakes and delays on site. BIM also helps ensure that everyone involved in the project has access to the same up-to-date information, improving both the construction process and the final quality of the building. Now, it's worth adding here as well that the BIM is typically only really used on larger projects at the minute within the industry, and what we're aiming to do and what we're in the process of doing is taking the key BIM principles and applying these to smaller projects and applying these workflows to an SME level. Now, CSY Architects is actually the result of 3 companies merging, all with different geolocated offices, different systems and staff skill sets. The aim of the KTP is to develop an integrated systems approach to underpin the growth of the company, whilst allowing us to achieve our 5 strategic goals as a business, and you can see them on screen. And BIM principles and systems particularly lent themselves to allow us to harmonise these systems and allow us to begin to achieve these goals. So we want to optimise service at all scales. We want to have access to other areas of specialism and access to larger projects in more sectors. We want to diversify our services. We want to expand as a business. We want to have other offices around the UK. And we want to enhance team and individual development and satisfaction. As I say, all of which BIM's principles and systems lent themselves particularly well to. Now, that's not to say that BIM does not inherently come with its challenges, and these are particularly relevant to SMEs. Cost being a big one. Software purchases typically have high upfront costs for purchasing these, and in turn, needing the investment into higher performance computers and other hardware to run the software efficiently. For SMEs looking to transition into using BIM workflows, there is a degree of re-engineering required around existing workflows and processes to integrate BIM, and this can also involve consultancy fees and internal project management costs. With regards to skill, staff skills can significantly hinder BIM adoption due to things like lack of technical expertise, resistance to change, inadequate training, which results in knowledge gaps. And I would like to hope in the next kind of 3 to 5 years that this might not be as prominent an issue due to new built environment students having a greater knowledge, ability and drive to implement BIM workflows. Moving on to project scale and collaboration then, I think one of the biggest kind of preconceptions in the industry at the minute is that BIM is only for larger projects, and that's something as part of doing this KTP is that we're hoping to get across to people is that we can use workflows on smaller projects, and I'll touch a little bit more on that later. Same with collaboration. It's actually one of the problems that we're finding at the minute is that we are struggling to find SME consultants like structural engineers and contractors who are willing to adopt these workflows, and that's something that we're kind of actively trying to remedy. So moving back onto the kind of KTP timeline, then this was the kind of very high level timeline of what we've achieved so far and where we are at the minute. The red and dot indicates where we are just now. Stages 1 and 2 were really reviewing the company and understanding the context and priorities. So we were assessing the company's background, the sorts of projects that we had on the go, the organisational structure, and of course the strategic goals, which I just spoke about. We also investigated how BIM can be used to improve these systems and practices, and there was a variety of different reports produced to kind of to support the kind of initial BIM implementation, which was kind of stage 3. So we looked at identifying improvements in data management, collaboration, and efficiency, and how we can enhance design quality, how we can enhance cost estimation for clients, and risk management through BIM. Then we kind of started to do some initial BIM implementation. We selected and executed 3 pilot projects with this sort of initial framework that we had in place. And from there, we were able to kind of monitor progress and sort of gather feedback for continuous improvement. And as you can see, we're kind of halfway through between stages 3 and 4 at the minute. We are kind of finalising the framework that we've been working on. And in stage 4, we really focus on analysis and evaluating and finalising the framework that's been produced, which will be quite exciting to see those kind of final figures. And then stage 5, which is really our intended continued use of BIM after the KTP is finished. We're not going to draw a line in the sand and forget about it. This is going to be a continuous thing once the project is finished. So the journey so far, then I'll really kind of just briefly touch on these. Then these are just kind of some of the key deliverables that we've achieved. So in terms of software investment, we've CSY has invested in this now, and which is great to see. And every member of staff now has an Autodesk Revit license, which is fantastic. And there's been great uptake from this, and this has really kind of stemmed from the staff upskilling sessions that I've been running weekly across all 3 offices. So yeah, weekly sessions on office standards that I've produced, and also how to model efficiently, which is obviously a key aspect of building information modelling. We've also set up a common data environment, and we've implemented that throughout the office. The way I like to think about this and is almost like a kind of shared Dropbox. Okay, so we can use this with other consultants, we can use it internally, and we can also use it with clients, for example. And it basically just means that we can have the most up-to-date information living on this platform that anyone can access at any time. which is working really well at the moment. BIM standards as well, so we've successfully implemented our BIM standards across the office. We've got a suite of documents which encompass things like our modelling standards, our data management standards, and our documentation standards, all of which align closely to the ISO 19650, which are the kind of sort of government standards that are out there. We've also created a new Office Revit template, which means that every new project that's started in the office uses this template as a basis, and we're seeing efficiencies attached to that as well. It also means that we're able to have sort of consistent graphical output and streamlined workflows by using this. And also bespoke BIM documentation as well. We're in the kind of final process of creating these. These come with sort of like decision tree diagrams, so it means whenever we bring a new project on board, we can follow the decision trees, and it will tell us which workflow we need to be applying to the type or the scale of project that we've taken on. Engagement events, yes, we've actually carried out a very successful engagement event with industry. Edinburgh, Napier University and CSY Architects hosted around 50 guests. Where we had a series of kind of guest lectures from myself, a director from David Miller Architects in London, who are quite ahead of the curve when it comes to BIM, and also the head of BIM from Historic Environment Scotland, which was really focused on BIM in historic buildings, which was really quite useful, and everyone seemed to really engage with those really well. We also had some dynamic sort of discussion groups as well, which was great. So we gave kind of each table that was set up, we gave them a set question, and it was great for them to discuss that. There was a variety of different disciplines there, so it wasn't just architects. We had engineers, we had mechanical engineers, we had people from building control, people from Scottish Government, and it was really great to have that conversation flowing. And we had great positive feedback from that. It was definitely there was an appetite for this sort of discussion. There are other BIM events that go on around Scotland at the minute, but they really only focus on the larger scale projects. So it was great to get this feedback. And we've got a second event. We're planning that at the moment, and we're incorporating that feedback from the first event, which is great. We're looking forward to that at the end of November. Yeah, these were kind of the three case studies that I thought I would mention that I spoke about earlier. You can kind of see here the different sort of sizes and scales that we want to try and apply these BIM workflows to, and how the similarities between the three, and then the differences that we changed to the framework to suit the project. So the first sort of project there is a conservation project. It's actually our CSY Galashiels office, and we're looking to do sort of conservation and remedial works to that building. The second project in the middle there was a kind of standalone one-off house, and how we were using our BIM workflows to accommodate that scale of project. And finally, Bogan Green, which is a housing development, 73 houses. A bit kind of on the larger scale of what we're looking to do, and does that framework still work? And of course it does, yes. So what we're kind of hoping to achieve then, I mean, we're obviously hoping to have continued training throughout the office. We've had great feedback, even from those who were a bit resistant to change in the initial stages. We're hoping to continue that and kind of teach people a little bit more about the sort of intermediate and advanced sort of modelling techniques and BIM workflows that have been created. We're looking for more design team collaboration. I think that's one thing that we're seeing as a challenge at the minute, and we feel is kind of lacking. And we're kind of trying to remedy this through these engagement events and letting people know the benefits of following these workflows. And generally, all projects implementing some form of BIM workflow, which we're pretty much there, which is great. And finally, just to end with the sort of benefits to the KTP then. So from Edinburgh Napier University's perspective, having input into the kind of research and publications, having their name up against that, we're also going to be producing a kind of final report at the end of this, which is great to see. We're we have weekly meetings with the university as well. So we're having that engagement. They're having that engagement with industry, which is great. So we're talking about kind of real life problems, which ultimately can then inform the teaching to the students and prepares graduates for industry, which is great. CSY architects, from their perspective, then we're pursuing the strategic goals, which is fantastic. We're harmonising the systems and we're providing an efficient service now in comparison to when we first started, which is great. And also collective team development. Everyone is now involved in doing them in the office, which is fantastic, and it's also for their own development as well. They've got that experience under their belt, which is great. And from my perspective as a KTP associate, it was quite a unique and challenging experience. Having only been out of university for 4 years, to kind of have all this responsibility in leadership and management and getting everybody on board was quite challenging and really rewarding actually, and it's definitely allowed me to develop my kind of future career goals. So, but yeah, that's the benefits that we see. Yeah, I hope that's provided you all with some insight as to what CSY architects in Napier University have been up to, and how the KTP is helping us to evolve and become industry leaders in the field of BIM and SMEs. So yeah, thanks again. Any questions?